开始没有人来，我们就开始。我自己介紹一下，我叫李乾銘。电脑不是我的专业，我是那个嗜好性。不过我以前在80年代的时候，我大概在 software development actually coding， 我做了7年。我那时候做的时候 ，Microsoft 刚刚在这边建立起来。那时候如果有眼光、有积极做，那我现在早就退休了。不过没关系，我们今天来，目标就是说，今天我们讲完以后呢，你回家以后你就可以上网，你可以download下来，你可以做。如果你有一个东西你要做，譬如说要做这支笔，你如果有那个档案，如果有那个电脑程式的话，那你马上就可以做。那这个电脑程式，等一下我会告诉你们说去哪里找，去哪里找。3D 哈，它最主要就是说三维就是三维立体的印表机。如果说我们要印东西出来，譬如说好，我印这个东西是一个平面的2维，那像我人站这里，我就是3维，我3度空间 x y z 啊。它这个是跟现在有一个 manufacturing terminology 就是 additive manufacturing， 它就是一层叠起来，那每一层呢几乎都是平面，每一层，那实际上是有点差异。原则上是这样的哈，那个我这里写，把它做红字是 computer aided design。我们如果要自己去做的话，可以，到后来我会告诉大家说，如果在网上找不到我们所要的模型，那我们只好自己去做。那我们怎么自己去做？初步的概念我告诉你一下，然后详细的以后你自己再去探讨。那我们印东西可以有2种情形，第一个就是说，我们从网上抓到一个 computer file， 那我可以来印。那如果我去网站上面找不到，那我只好用我的电脑去设计。那设计的时候有些设计程式，那设计程式主要的 driver 是 CAD。那 CAD 我在后面我会告诉大家说，如果 CAD 的时候，我们基本上它的成型是怎么样子弄起来的。现在有哪些人在用 3D 呢？有工业界，有医药，还有就是 everyday 我们的 hobby。所谓美国人，因为美国人有很多人，有一群人很喜欢做不是他做 professional， 他要做他想要做的事情，他的 hobbies。 为什么会这么流行？就是说它的那个做模型的成本比较低。如果我们要造一个东西，我们要翻砂，我们要铸模，如果要外包的话，这个 labor intensity 很高，所以成本相对的就会提高很多。那这个因为我们可以，如果有了机器，甚至于说我们都不要有 printer， 我到后面我会告诉你说我们去哪里找，可以去哪里印东西。只要你有一台电脑，你找到那个你要印的东西，然后 download 下来，你改一改，然后再送回去到那个有 printing service 的地方，你可以找得到。我们要做3D 的 printing， 我们必须要，当然第一个就是有一个有一条电脑，那有一个 printer 现在目前的市价大概是1-2千块到几十万，甚至于到 high end， 可能到80-90万也不一定，就看你要 print 出来的东西是什么。例如说，你要 print 出来的东西是那个赛车、跑车要用的这类零件，那你比较便宜的 print 出来的强度可能不够啊，或者是说你那个它有一个叫做 extruder， 就是我们加料进去、添料进去，它要把你加热，把你融化，然后它再输送出来，它才可以 print 你的东西啊。那这个你 print 出来，你一层一层叠下来，照结果，如果用在不要说跑车，就是我们自己开的车子就好了，可能强度不够，那怎么办？那如果你要这个零件，你可以去买一个比较 high end 高档的 printer， 那你材料你就可以，也许可以融化金属，融化titanium。也许你可以做比较好的东西出来。这个概念就是 STL type，STL。一般我们如果用 CAD（Computer Aided Design），如果我设计完成了以后，到最后我有一个 option， 我可以 save STL file。如果我 save 成 STL， 那我可以送到外面去，有人专门在帮人家做制造模型的，那他就可以根据我设计的图的档案，他就可以帮我印出来我的那个 model， 然后我 model 我来看这个它的功能是不是符合我需要，或者造型是不是我需要。这 STL， 然后这个 replicator 机是一个比较特殊的 program 程式，它的功能是说，你必须要有这个东西。如果我们要 要用 3D printer 来 print out 东西的时候，必须要有这个东西。主要就是它的功能是把我们设计的档案 software program 那个 file， 然后我们设计出来是每一个东西都是一个成型，都是一个 form， 但是它必须把你切成一片一片 slide， 它把你 slide， 譬如说我这个笔，我如果是这个样子，它必须要切从这个笔套一直到笔尖，每一层切，然后它这个程式的功能就是这样把你切。那切完以后，它储藏 store 起来，它用这个当 driver 来 drive 你的 computer 的 program， 所以那个 printer 它那个 printer 它才会，它那个会移动，你告诉它走到哪里，它再走回来，是由这个做完以后再驱动它们。 们要准备 3D printing 有3个步骤。第一个步骤就是说，我们脑袋里面要先有一个目标，我要印什么，我要做什么。然后第二个步骤就是，那我要印什么，我要做什么呢？我现在设计，或者是我到网站上面去找。那我就去网站上面去找设计，如果有适合我需要的，那我把它download下来，抓到我的电脑里面去，然后我再改成我要的，或者是少改，或者是不改。你从网络上面抓到的那个 file 没有办法，如果没有透过它的话，你那个 3D printer 没有办法帮你做，必须要透过它。把你的那个电脑的 file slicing， 它切割每一片切割下来，变成很细这样。后面我们会谈到你。那等你这个都做完了以后，做到第2步以后呢，第3个就是 print。你要 print 东西的时候，有很多细节，这样有一些简单的后面我会讲，然后你只要照着那个去做。那当然，第一个先要了解它那个 menu。如果你把那个 menu 看完，照它那个去做就可以。刚刚我讲的就是说，主要是这个档案就是说我们脑袋里面想的，我要印笔，我要印这支。或者是说我要做这个小老鼠，我要先设定在我脑袋里面，如果我们要做的是我们脑袋里面先要有这个成型在，那有这个成型，我要做这个东西，那我就要上网去找，好有没有做 mouse， 有没有做笔的，如果有我就去把它抓下来，然后download到我的 computer， 然后我这个形状我不再喜欢，那我可以再改完以后，然后那就从哪里去找？就是那个 Thin Iris 就可以到各位回家去的时候，你上网的时候，你到 network， 你打 www.thiniris.com， 把它 print it out。你如果愿意的话，你可以加入。你可以建立一个 account， 那你就加入它的那个 community， 那个 cloud 那个 community 以后，你就可以到里面去抓档案。那从这个 file 我们就可以去，第一个就是说脑袋里面想好，我要画这张，我要做这个 reproduce this pen。Where can I go？ 我到这个 Thin Iris。到网站里面去找，那找到我们需要的，那我就抓到我的电脑里面了。然后就下第2个步骤。第2个步骤，刚刚我讲过，就是 replicator 基因是可以到这个网站去抓它下来，是一个工具。它是一个工具，这个过程就主要目的就是说，好，我把那个档案，我的 file， 我要做的 object file、computer file， 我如果没有经过 replicator 这个工作，我的 printer 它没有办法帮我做，因为它不知道你告诉它什么，它是没有接受任何的指令。这个 replicator 主要有2个功用，第一个就是把你的那个电脑的档案 slicing 从头到底。第2个就是 communicate with your printer， 你 computer， 告诉你的 computer 怎么 move， 从东 move 到西，从西南 move 到西北或 whatever。这个动作是这样，如果到这里我们都做好了，那差不多几乎快完成了。下来就是我们要怎么 print 它。 layer， 这是我在网站里面去找到啊。我们做这个猪，我们 print 的时候，它是从最下面这边开始 print。那个 extruder part of the printer，extruder 就它里面呢，就是我们进料的时候是放在那里，然后它把你加热，然后 melting 以后，然后透过 printer。computer 我们就可以做这个东西出来。我们可以做你想象中你要什么东西可以做什么东西，只要你有那个档案，你有 develop， 你有这个 program， 然后你用了 replicate 这个工具把你 finalize 这个 program 把它 slicing。那 slicing 就是主要是要要 send a command to the printer how to move, how to put the material, where to put. 第二个就是我们那个 file 已经 design 好了，我们已经透过那个 replicate 就已经 slice ready 以后，我们就要 print out 出来。那 print out 出来，这个是告诉我们说怎么做。那当然，这不是很详细。如果各位有兴趣的话，可以上网去。如果你要去买一个 printer， 你要自己做，当然是最方便，因为你买了以后，你 anytime 24 hours、27你都可以做。那如果没有的话，我们需要拿一些 manual 去 understand。如果在家里的话，我们自己要 hook up。那如果我送给那个 OEM， 比如说它的这是一家公司的代号，它主要的目的就是卖这个 printer 给大公司或者是给任何人，他们要买，那就你可以如果上网跟那边跟那个网上联络，你 establish an account， 然后你就有机会可以使用他们的 printer。这做完了以后，如果是这个做完了以后呢，这里下面对，这个 SD 卡就有点像 USB， 像我这插这个东西，只是另外一个名词。它这是一个 electronic devices。让你来储存你的档案，让你 transport from A to B。那里就是G code 是 G programming language， 你不要去把它想象太多。你现在就知道说 G programming language G code， 它这主要就是说告诉我们说，我如果买了一个 printer。我放在我的家里，或者放在我家里的那个 lab 或 whatever， 我要自己去操作的时候，这些顺序要怎么做？那这个 extruder， 等一下我一张图，它是放在它是 demonstrate， 它是用那个 plastic 进料 plastic 放在 extruder， 那 extruder 它有 heater， 把它 melt。然后 melt 以后，再经过管路，再送到 printing machine 的时候，再一个 layout 出来。
问题，在西雅图这里是不是有这个地方？可以有 这个机器在那边，我可以给他多少钱，我可以使用1个小时、2个小时这样。
我现在没有这个消息，不过我知道你如果设计好的图形，我到后面我会有一些资料，你可以到那里去 try。像 Things Ivers， 它是 Makers Bob， 是一个 3D printer manufacturer， 它 accept the user sending the file to them to print it up objects， 免费。
免费。
材料你要买。
那就有点像这个我的这个数位照片送到 Costco 去给他，他就印好了这个给我。
对啊。
你慢慢等 Costco 就会有。
所以现在就是说，在考虑有可能 7-Eleven 它会设这个比较超级的机器，那你把这个 SD 卡送进去，它就替你印出来，这样变得很方便。
你今天有没有一个 sample of a 3D print？ 你有没有
印出来的？
印出来的有没有？
我没有，我没有那个梦想，但是照片这里有。
刚刚那个就是，
这个就是。
就是印出来的，
没有，那是印出来成品的成品，
这是成品，
这是平体的，这是立体的，在那个 Microsoft Store Variable Square 可以有这个 printer， 它有时候有 demo 可以看得见它怎么弄。
可以去那里看。
因为我的意思就是说，这个最后这个 3D 这个东西是一个 plastic 3 dimension， 我可以摸的。It's not on a piece of paper.
You can touch the paper. 是立体真正的 object.
Yeah, so 是一个模型嘛。Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
你可不可以等一下？后面有2张、3张图，有一张图是讲这个 extruder， 就是进料的 material insert， 它 heat it up, melt it, and then push it through the system, but do not have the detailed process, but you can see the appearance. 如果我们买 printer 回到家的时候，这个千万记得不要去 touch。如果你在印它的时候，千万不能靠近。这样想好了，它能够把 plastic melt， 它也可以把我们 melt。Right？ 因为它这 heater， 它可以把那个 plastic melt， 或者是 metal melt， 它也可以把我 melt。所以要很小心，不要去 touch。那如果你买那个 printer 回来家里自己要用的时候，如果你觉得说我要 adjust must turn it off wait until cool down， 不然的话你有 hazards。这是 partial 的，这是 extruder。这是 3D 的 extruder， 它下面 push out 是 liquid， 这个化掉的那个 plastic。这是工料，这是材料，这是一卷。如果买的话，这是大卷。因为这里是美国，我不想台湾，我可以买3次、4次。OK， 下面这个是告诉大家，就是告诉我们说，这个 process，the printing 的 process 有1到6。 这 fade into 的 printer 就是这个 fade into 刚刚我们看到的这个 extruder， 那 extruder 它里面有一个 heater， 可以 heating element。然后这个是告诉我们大家是说，刚刚是我们机器我们那个机器 printer 的操作，那这个是说我们用电脑，我们从我们design 到成型 print it out， 大概是这个样子。这个机器要读这个。via STL 一定要 STL， 就像如果我们要做账，如果用 Excel， 我们必须要 x.xlx， 如果没有这个 Microsoft 这个一定跟你说我不知道，所以我们必须要记得要有这个 file。然后这个呢，这 double inch resolution 就看我们的个人的喜好，精密度有所不同。high end 也许可以 print 到16个 micrometer， 差不多1600个 dots per inch，1600个 dots。那一般的话，大概是差不多200个 dot per inch。那这250个 dpi， 差不多equivalent to 100 micrometer。一个 micrometer 就是大概100万分之一了，一尺，一个 meter， 一公尺divided by 100万，然后再乘以100。大概就是250点每一个寸。有没有问题？
你讲的是 printing is stationary object, dynamic object 你不能 print。
你
dynamic object 像是 hard bar， 你要做 hard bar，hard bar 是动的你不能 print， 是不是？stationary 像一个球，一个 piggy bank， you can print。
Bob 应该可以。
可以。
我就是问题就是说，做出来会不会动？
你这个很好的问题了哈。我的 research 他们是这样的，他们 forecast prediction 10 to 20 years for the living organ will be available for printing。
现在还不行。
10 to 20 years from now， 10到20年，我们 forecast 10到20年，我们的 living organ 大概可以透过这个 3D print， 大概有没有人听？我不知道。
就是说，只有 material 的 question，material 能够这样对 flexible， 对不对 ？Yeah。
所以刚讲他这个先生讲的没有错，就是说，这最要是你的材料，你的材料如果是有这样的弹性，但你要设计的材料跟我们人体的材料一样，它那个弹性是那个叶片，那个 valve 不是有几个叶片嘛？那个陈医生就说2个叶片、3个叶片，它这个叶片如果说能够活动软度跟我们人的一样，它这样子活动。以前我知道，我曾经接触这个 artificial valve， 以前最早前那个 Michael DeBakey 他设计，听到 Michael DeBakey 吧？他设计的是用球，还有一个 disc， 后来当然都有问题，后来现在改设计像人的那个软片一样叶片。那这个材料如果是有那种性质的话，就像你讲，它自然而然就是会这样共同。
Maybe
我看到有的那个是这个 artificial limbs， 它那样做各种的原配，好像那种也是会有点
材料最重要的材料。
我想现在牛肉都可以做了，会慢慢往那边去。
可以做的东西啊，可以吃的，可以吃的，可以吃的。
可以吃的。
神经现在还不能讲，就是像那个肾脏它已经可以做，它用 cell 哦。我们这边是 print 是有颜料，各种不同颜料。那它 organ 的话，它是用 cell， 每一种器官的 cell 变成一个 package， 然后它一直 print 上去。所以像肾脏，它可以一层一层的细胞给你 print 在上面，哦，那这样慢慢发展应该是慢慢朝那边在走。
一块可以，但是
现在是这样。
牵涉到神经跟血管的事。
血管的话，它是先把那个没有生命的那一种先 print 出来，然后再把 cell print 上去，让它长出来这样。那很多技术啊。所以我一直说，我们这个年龄要开始学这个，因为可以知道上帝，
感觉到
长生不老的，
不会死的呀。哦，真的告诉上帝。
我知道，我听到你讲。
就会说，是有这么大的，没有，最后也是自己去给它背出来的。
谁敢吃啊？
而且是自己体内的。
你们问的问题很好啊。我看过的资料就是说，现在
不良反应。
我们就是认识，现在就是中国投资5亿美金，5亿$500 million trying to come to a solution to produce human organs through the printer, 3D printing.
不用跑人工了。
这是那个 3D printer。
所以以后呢，就不用结婚了，用推理做制造的。
也可以这样想，以后可以 anytime 你都可以去结婚。
Make love with the machine.
Yeah， 你要 print diamond ring anytime 你都可以 reproduce。
Oh, that's really good point.
好，刚刚前面讲的就是说，我们要 print 的 object， 我们可以到网上去找到，或者说跟朋友借，或是跟 anyway， 你可以找到，你不要设计。那你可以download， 你download到你的电脑，那你就可以做。第一个就是我们要有那个 software program、object program， 对不对？第二个我们要 slice， 要 replicate 基因到基因 ，capital G， 要把它 slice 完以后，我们放到那个电脑里面，然后我们就可以启动 printing， 只要我们要的东西有了，然后放到那个 extruder 去，对不对？然后它把你晾，然后 push， 对不对？然后等，这样就结束了。那如果我要的东西如果没有怎么办？如果我到上网去找不到，全球又找不到，那只好自己找。那自己设计。那你设计的时候 ，tool 就用 CAD。Computer Aid Design， 那下面我简单的介绍一点点那个 Computer Aid Design。我曾经在这个 Computer Aid Design 那个 core team 做过大概4年，所以我大概知道一点点。上一次我提到过 Computer Aid Design， 我们主要就是把那个几何图形，所有的几何能够想象得到的几何图形。我以前在台湾念书的时候，我想说，那个初中的时候练几何，高中的时候练解析几何，想说几何做什么？人生有几何啊？那时候就想，那时候听那个老师讲，人生有几何，可是那时候年纪小，不知道什么意思，人生有几何，那几何做什么？然后我接触了这个以后，我才想到，还有这些。用途，它几何图形，我们所有的 CAD/CAM 都是从最基本的几何图形拼装组合起来的。 那如果不规则怎么办？比如说，好，我这边5寸，然后我中间2寸，这边6寸。那如果是有个弯曲型，我用什么方法去把它量？那个 concat， 那个外面的形要怎么去？我会提到一点。是用 computer 来 help us to creation multiplication for any design。所以有几个考大家的几个，有几个还记得。方形、长方形、平行四边形。
梯形。
三角、等边三角、5角、6角、8角都有写。那这是三维 cube， 你把那个方块加深度进去就对了。这边是的。考大家这个是什么？那个圆锥形，砍掉上面一点。一个圆锥这样子嘛，哈，这样子上来。
小孩子甚至
orange cone，
对，就小孩子甚至
我现在就变成这样子，这是
上面切掉，
上面就是去掉。你那个 ice cream 的时候，
漏斗，
吃掉上面就对了。
那就是漏斗。
对。刚刚我提到过说，如果不规则型要怎么连接，用它。那只是一个名字而已，这是一个数学名字。然后我们不会去花脑筋，那是数学家已经弄出来的这些方程式，然后只是把这个方程式变成 computer code， 然后就可以。我们可以去 adjust， 这样就可以做。来个是 B spline，
弧形的。
没有错，这个 curve 就是说原来的点是这一点、1点、2点、3点、4点、5点、6点，对不对？那机器的时候，它不能。它不会像我们人，它走到这里再转弯，再走，再转弯。那就用 B spline 我们的 optimal 的 approach the curve fitting 形状。所以我们用那个 3D printer 的 print 出来的东西，到最后面成型，最后面还要再加工。不是说出来就好了，一定会有一些误差出现。通常很多情形都需要磨掉。通常。
所以基本上这个 spline 是不是一个 polynomial 特点？一个
Yes，
一个也是那个 cubic spline， 就是那个
more than that
polynomial。
Yeah, polynomial。
少掉那个棱角的地方，不是一个接回去的这种。
就多次方程式上，多次方程式。
我不研究那么多。这就是基一他们计划出来的产品之一。他们变出来的东西。我举这个例子，只是说，这个是一个很简单的一个程式，就是我们怎么换，要从那个温度华氏的摄氏变华氏。我刚从台湾来的时候，第1年、第2年， 都在想设施，那他们都讲哇，什么都30度、30度哦，热，可是到30度零下。我讲举这个例子是说，这边我们要用城市，这城市，这是一个很简单的一个城市。这个结果就是印出来是这个样子，结果，这也是花式，这也是设施，转换。然后，如果你把这个套到那个 Unix compiler 里面去，印出来的东西，它 print 出来结果就是这个样子。我说这个很简单的例子，就是说，我要印的东西，那个我要透过 3D printer print 出来的 object 是什么？那我可以设计。我的意思是说，好，我现在我要这个 table， 那我要这个 table， 我就去找这个东西啊。这里是说我们哪里可以达到那个 resource， 那个 printer mega spaces manufacturing。如果没有的话，这是自己不花钱、不投资钱的，没有投资的。然后第三个就是自己投资钱去买一个 hardware printer 放在家里，你放在国外，你放在你 lab， whatever， 什么时候你什么时候做都没有人会跟你抢。如果你要 print 更好的、更精密的，需要 do more research, talking more expert。不过 ，I'm almost sure， 如果你花了刚刚跟你讲的这些程序，第一个你有一个 software file， 第二个你 go to 那个 internet download 的 replicator 集移下来到你那，你把你的程式经过它 finish 以后，你送到 printer 一定可以 print 出来，一定可以 print 出来。So we all don't need to have a software programming skill. You can print it. 这里有3个模型了哈，这个最简单的，你到这个网上去，你可以看得到，你可以去浏览一下看看。然后1、2、3D cache， 你也可以到这里去看看。然后这个是比较 advanced， 比较有挑战性，你也可以去再去看看。
那所以听完这个以后，就说谁要改行，现在可以改行了。Programming 不是 Fortran 啊什么了，你就开始去学 CAD。OK， 为什么很多人想要一个什么东西，他自己不会 Programming， 他就会请人给他 Program。大的公司也会请很多 CAD Programmer。然后还有一个 job 可以做的，就是说你去开一家店，就是有各种 level 的这个 3D printer， 你专门让人家来 print，OK， 人家请人 program 的拿到你店里来帮他 print， 所以赚钱的新的职业就很多了。
一部机器就是说 reasonable。可以做模型
，2000块美金，2000块美金，对。那你可以用4组，我中文我不会念，4组，那个很简单的，很便宜的，你成本不高，你大概2000块就可以了。你要做成型，你要做模型，你要看那个样品对不对嘛？对不对？你要看那个出来，你设计出来的这个样子对不对？他没有办法告诉你精密度了，所以你如果要这样很简单的，就是大概2000块。
2000块
美金。
机器可以做多大的东西啊？
做多大东西就看我没有做过，
现在好像大部分都是比较小的，像玩具啦，还有你说自己家里韩国啦，这些都可以做。
你有没有那个 manufacture 的那个资料？有没有？
你到那个 In Ivers website， 它的幕后的 support 是一个 Maker Spot，BOT MAKERS，BOT， 它是供应 3D printer 的制造商。
像在那个杂志上面，几乎都是从大陆来的。
你不要从杂志，你不要从那个杂志上面去看的，有很多 source， right？ 很多 source， 不一定要限定到杂志上面。
我想那个奥巴马总统已经下令所有的小学开始都要学这个，表示这个是相当 serious 哦。那这个是将来的很多产业都要考虑。
他现在有专门一个 team 在 support 所有的，他用飞机飞那部机器，哪一个地方东西坏了，然后飞过去。就做一做，就这样用。
不过有一点需要 understand 的是说，也许这个会misleading说很快，那个 in a short period of time can produce a relative less expensive product. The second portion probably okay. The first portion we need to think twice. 如果 it complicated enough.Sophisticated enough. Picture this way, it must be sliding almost at the same level, very, very thin. How can it produce in a short period of time to meet the requirement of the strength, stress, endurance? How can it make it happen in a short period of time? That's a catch. 你做玩具做那个家用，大概没有太大困难。如果说你要，譬如说要卖到飞机工业，这个大概要考虑一下。
不过现在连枪都可以这样做，那怎么办？
枪的那个需要的材料应力跟飞机某一些零件的材料应力不一样，比较小。而且再说，你枪支如果走火的话，最多你自己一个人嘛，那你飞机如果弄不好的话，一掉下来，
然后送上太空去做了，去做太空舱的零件了。
我看过一个 information， 他是这样讲的，他是说那个 Airbus 他希望有一个够大的 hangar size 那个 3D printer， 所以他可以把飞机 print 出来。
哇！
我不搭他们的飞机啊，他们是这样做出来，我不搭。
因为我对这个有兴趣，就是说我们银发族将来可能会要自己或家人照顾，我们大概比较不愿意去 facility 住哦。那么很多 supply 啦，很多药的东西，吃药，还有你的身体的 supply 都要自己适合你的量的或你的 size 的。那个可能3D 将来都可以做到。那这样的话，是不是我们要开始要学哦？上次我讲的，像一颗药，现在标准的厂商做的是像250 milligram 或500或750，但是我可能只要115，你要怎么去切啊？没办法切嘛。好，那这样3D printer 就可以根据这个把你的 pill 制出来，就适合你的量 ，exactly you need。哦，那我讲的开玩笑就是说，将来我们大概都要用 diaper 尿布，现在厂商是大的小的都很难穿哦。 那么是不是可以说适合我的就 print 出来，就当天最 fresh 的都可以用？就是说 personal use、medical use， 现在是不是我们银发族是不是开始在思考？因为这个一直来了，而且它的力量相当大，大家世界各国都在竞争，那么我们是不是也该学了？所以我就是想说，银发族是不是也开始这些课程，我们要。
那你那个材料，它这个公司都是 secret， 它不会给你的呀。你没有那个材料，你怎么print出来？
它还是有基本的成分，可以用。像我想应该将来都会有的。但是要不是这个3D 的好处是说，现在的厂商它制造一大堆存货，有很多地方卖不出去。那么我们现在是个人可以全 print 出来，以后是不是有这一类的专利啦或什么，这个以后再说。现在就是说，我们是不是要开始要学这个？这个是一个我们很基本要知道的知识，这只是一个 idea。
对，另外一个，我刚刚提到说一个，我用大概2-3分钟讲一下，那个 CAD computer 它是基本上就是把那个几何图形变成一个 software 就是 program。比如说我只画一条线，2点就一条线，那我只画那个2D 的 square， 它是专门的一个 module， 就画这个 square。然后它怎么 integrate？ 它如果我们要画，比如说这个房间。然后我们住在房间。如果我叫你，我今天告诉你说好，帮我画一个圆，你从哪里去画？从哪一点哪一角？不知道，我无所适从。如果我在这边，你告诉我，你前面你去帮我画一个圆，我画出来的位置可能你不喜欢，或者是我画出来的大小也不是你要的。所以通常 CAD 它只要开机的时候，它都要有个你写参考点，就像说我们在空间里面，我们如果是3维，我们要告诉我们的位置在哪里的时候，我们有一个参考点，我们是要北纬几度、南纬几度、东经西经。那它就是用那个，然后用那个永远。只要你开机，它永远是用那一点当参考点为基准点，然后去画你的那个。那你出来画的图，你做出来的才会才会像这个。如果你没有到那一个参考点，它做出来的也许就上不下。你说你是他说他的。好，
那谢谢。要具体这看能不能每次期待来练习。那现在下一个题目就是说，介绍那个 ERA 哈，那他们就是属于华大的退休社区的系统。那今天来的是属于韩中的介绍。那今天他要讲的就是说，我们身体、心理看什么状况需要做到什么 level 的那个地方哈，去生在家里呢，还是去住退休社区，还是怎么样？
Hi, I'm not a person, I'm a 3D printed thing. How is everybody today? Good. I'm Shelley Carroll, and I'm with Choice Advisory Services. We're a local agency that works with seniors and families to help seniors find the right place for them to live with housing and care if needed for the later stages of life. And I have a handout here that I'll leave up here, but this explains everything that I'm talking about today. So how many of you right now might live in an assisted living community? Nobody?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right, well, don't, you know what, I will make it sound so appealing that you'll move tomorrow. So, I, as I mentioned, work with seniors and their families. I will tell you that 90% of the time, I'm working with those people because they're in an emergency, because they have waited. Usually I'm working, by the way, with adult children. Their parents have waited a very long time to move from their homes. Many times they've fallen, they've ended up in the hospital, then they go to rehabilitation, and then the social workers and doctors there say, this person can't go home. And the family's scrambling to find the right place. So I'm here today to give you an overview of the housing and care options for seniors, depending upon medical ability, cognitive ability, physical ability. And I'm going to go over costs as well as features and benefits of each, and also tell you what situation is right for what stage of care needs. So will that be helpful? Or, does anybody have any questions that I should keep in mind before I start talking? Anything you want to know about specifically? What an easy group. Yes?
So when a person has been, transferred from a hospital to like a rehab place because of injury or because of observation, and then you mentioned that the doctor says this person cannot go home. What does that mean? Because I had a friend who encountered that exactly scenario, and then on my third visit to this friend, he asked me to call the police, and because he wanted to get out, they won't let him go. And I'm not a family to this person.
Yeah, I can address that. It's a very unusual situation. Okay. But I will talk in general about skilled nursing facilities. I'm going to address those at the very end of this. So, first thing I want to talk about is the term retirement living. A lot of you know of retirement communities. And when I hear that word, I think of something very specific. I mean, there are assisted living communities that call themselves retirement communities because assisted living sounds kind of scary to a lot of people. But a true retirement community is for people who are 55 plus and who can still live very independently and don't need any support services at all. So when I hear a retirement community, it's just like a regular apartment building. Some of those retirement communities will have community rooms. Some of them will have like a concierge to help you with small tasks. All of them allow you to bring in-home care agencies in to be of support, but they themselves do not offer any care services. So that's a retirement community. Quite frankly, I don't deal with retirement communities. All the people who come to me need some kind of care services, or will in the near future. So that's retirement communities. Let's talk about assisted living, because that is what a lot of people think of when they think of a place that can take care of them if they have illness or any kind of infirmity. So assisted living communities allow people to live as independently as possible with assistance as they need it. So you can move into assisted living today, if you wish, as long as you're over 62, but I don't see anybody here who's over 62.
We're older.
Of course, my eyes are old, so yeah. So if you're over 62, you are able to live in an assisted living community. The most important thing to know about assisted living, whether it's appropriate for you now or later down the line, is you have to be safe behind closed doors to live successfully in an assisted living community. Let me explain. There are many people who live in assisted living who are still going on cruises, they're still hiking, they just want an apartment within a community where meals are served, where transportation is provided, and all assisted living communities do that. Then there are people who need a little bit of help as they get older. They may need help showering or getting dressed, or they may start to get a little bit confused and need help getting to the dining room. All of those are things that assisted living communities do. But all of those things are scheduled. So assisted living communities are really great for people who can get by with just what's called scheduled tasks. So if you need a shower at 9 o'clock in the morning, they're there to help you. If you need your medications delivered at 10 in the morning, they're there. If you need to be walked to the dining room for dinner, they'll be there to help you. It's the in-between times where nobody's there, unless you have the ability to get to a button or an alarm and pull for help. So that means that as long as you have the ability to do that, you're fine in an assisted living community. However, life goes on, people get more infirm, and there are times when an assisted living community is no longer appropriate. And I'll discuss that in a second. So what assisted living communities do for you? Well, they all provide meals. If you are independent and not receiving any care services, they will either provide 1 or 2 meals a day. Once you start getting any kind of care services, and by care services I mean help with medications or dressing or showering, grooming. As soon as you get any care services like that, by law, your room and board includes 3 meals a day. So they cook for you, they clean for you, they come in once a week. All communities do this. They come in once a week and they clean your apartment. Sometimes they take out the trash daily. They take away your bed linens and your towels. They wash them. They come back and remake the bed. I think maybe twice a year they'll come in and do a deep cleaning of the apartment. They all provide transportation. There'll be a doctor's day or two where they take people to their doctor's appointments and pick them up. They'll go off to see the tulips in Mount Vernon in the spring, downtown to a Mariners game, go Mariners. And so they do all sorts of things like that. They have a lot of activities in the communities. People come in to talk about different countries, different parts of history, current events. There's always something going on. And of course, there's bingo, because no community doesn't have bingo, so popular with people. So they do that as well. Some assisted living communities have a physical therapy office in the community, some don't. They all have beauty parlors for men, salons for men and women. And they can be moderately priced all the way up to the communities. I call them Chihuly glass communities because they have Chihuly glass in the lobby. Those places will have a lot of amenities and be more high-end. All assisted living communities charge 2 things. They charge room and board, and that varies depending upon the fanciness of the community, the size of the apartment. There'll be studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, but 2 bedrooms less frequently. So they all charge room and board depending upon the apartment size and just the general level of the community. And then, as you need care, they will charge care costs on top of the room and board. So communities, and I call them communities, by the way, because they truly are communities where people are looking out for each other too. And you do have a great sense of community when you walk in the doors of an assisted living community. The communities charge the care costs in one of 2 ways. One way is called points. The other way is called levels. Points are really units of time for the caregivers. So let's say you need help twice a week with a shower. And a lot of seniors don't shower more than twice a week when they become less active. So you need help twice a week with a shower. I'm going to make the following up. They'll charge 2 points for each shower. So 2 points is let's say $80. And so that's $80 a week, and you add that to the monthly cost. Right? Well, you get. I know my math. My arithmetic is profoundly terrible, but you know, that's how they charge. So you can get, they basically charge for every time a caregiver helps you with any little thing, you get charged. Levels, points are sort of a la carte system. Levels are bundles of points. So there may be 100 points in the first level, and those 100 points can be spent in any number of ways, but you pay that level cost even if you're just getting one thing done. So for many people, the level system would suggest that they're paying more than they need to at that point in time. If you only need one thing and the level includes points for 4 things, you're still paying that level. Points are more a la carte. Is that making sense? Yeah, okay. So you have to know whether the community you're talking to is a point system or a level system. For people who have a lot of needs when they move in, a level system can be very good. So assisted living communities are great. They offer a way to enrich your life, your social life, your intellectual life, your physical life, and they are terrific to a point. Many people become so significantly, have so many difficulties after a while due to the aging process, or to disease, or cognitive, mental frailty, that the points mound up and up and up and up. And pretty soon, when you were paying $3,000 a month just for room and board, you're now paying $9,000 a month with all the care costs. And so that's something to know as you plan for living in an assisted living community. That what is comfortable financially now may not be over time. So when I started working with Choice Advisory Services, and you know, I'm like a real estate agent. I take people around and show them things that might suit given their needs and their finances and all of that. When I first started working with Choice, I felt, like so many people do, that there are places where you can age in place. You can just move in and go through end of life in that one place. And that would be wonderful, and many people can do that, but many, many other people cannot. And they can't because of how we all age differently. You know, if some person has a stroke and is immobilized, an assisted living community is not the right place for them. It's not the right place because at that point you're paying for things you don't need, and you're paying a very, very high cost because you don't need the activities bus, and you don't need the field trips, and you don't need things that you're not able to take advantage of them. The costs are way up, but the care isn't enough for you in that situation. In assisted living communities, you have one caregiver for 10, 12, 14 people. And that's not enough when you've got a lot of care needs. So that's why and there are excellent, excellent assisted living communities out there. I don't want to imply that they're not. They're wonderful for the right circumstances. I was invited to speak today, not only by your organization, but by Tina Hall from Arrow Living. Arrow Living is a local company that owns a number of very, very lovely assisted living communities. They can take care of people. They prefer people to move in when they're independent, but as people age, they're able to provide assistance with helping people in and out of bed, walking, dressing, showering, all those things I mentioned. What they cannot do is they cannot provide two-person transfer, meaning if you've had that stroke and are not able to walk, they can't help you get out of bed. So that would be an example of when even a really good assisted living community can no longer support an individual. So if you choose to move into an assisted living community, I urge you to do so, or to consider it, while you're still able to take advantage of all the wonderful things that they offer. Just like any other assisted living community, Era Living, for example, offers all the things I talked about in a very lovely environment. But they will want to see you when you're still able to be an active part of that community. And they're able to take care of you as you move forward in the aging process. So what questions do you have about assisted living? Yes?
Is assisted living the same or not the same as skilled nursing?
Not the same.
No.
Not the same at all. And I will talk about skilled nursing at the end. Well, I'll talk about skilled nursing now. How about that, and answer your question. A lot of people say, I don't want to go to a nursing home. I'm afraid my kids are going to put me in a nursing home. We call nursing homes here skilled nursing facilities. Don't worry about that, because skilled nursing facilities are the step after hospitalization. Skilled nursing facilities are for rehabilitation from illness, from disease, from injury. They are designed for short-term stay, so you can get your health back after a period of hospitalization. If you've spent 2 nights in a hospital, Medicare will cover your stay in a skilled nursing facility while you get stronger until you are stabilized and able to either go home or they say you are not fit to go home. And when you're not fit to go home, that's when they call people like me to help the families find the right place for support of that person. And I also get direct calls, but I get a lot of calls from skilled nursing facilities to help families. So what skilled nursing does, so it's like a hospital. It's not like a home. You're there for a short-term stay. In some cases, skilled nursing facilities will have people living there. That's under 2 circumstances. The first circumstance is the people are paying privately after Medicare runs out. And Medicare will only cover 100 days, the maximum. So those people are paying probably $300 to $350 a day to live in a skilled nursing facility. Yeah. So there are people who do that. Why, I don't know, but they do. And then there are also circumstances under which people live in a skilled nursing facility because they don't have any other money and they're on Medicaid. The state is paying for their stay. Increasingly, skilled nursing facilities do not want Medicaid residents. And the number of beds they have for Medicaid residents are either gone or dwindling, getting smaller. So just know that if you're hospitalized, I hope this never happens to anybody. You fall, you break your hip. You'll have the surgery in the hospital. You're in the hospital 2 days, and then you go to a skilled nursing facility to work with a physical therapist, occupational therapist, whatever kind of therapy you need to get back to as strong as you can be. Does that answer your question? Okay. So it's not at all like an assisted living community. They will have activities and things like that, but it's certainly not at the same level as an assisted living.
But assisted living facility has skilled nursing inside.
No, not necessarily. Now you're leading me to another. You're very good. You're keeping me on track. I appreciate that very much. What you're talking about now is a combination of skilled nursing and assisted living that you can find in what's called a continuing care retirement community. And continuing care retirement communities have been very popular on the East Coast, but they're just now, in the past 10 years, starting to appear in this area. And continuing care retirement communities, as the name suggests, is a place that you can it's truly, supposedly, age in place, because they have independent apartments, assisted living apartments, skilled nursing, and memory care under one roof. So the East Side example would be Emerald Hills, is a continuing care retirement community. If you are considering a continuing care retirement community, it is as much a financial decision as it is a decision about your housing and care. And here's why. all continuing care retirement communities charge an entrance fee, also known as a buy-in. And that can be really pricey. Skyline, Mirabella, the ones downtown, you're looking at $500,000 as an entrance fee to get an apartment in the independent living area of the building. And I'm just grabbing numbers, but that would not be an unreasonable number for an apartment. So you pay that money up front. And by the way, each continuing care retirement community has very different financial scenarios, one to the other, and also different financial scenarios within their structure. So let's say you pay $500,000, and what they are guaranteeing with that $500,000 entrance fee is that you will be able to live there through all the stages of life, through end of life, and that you will, and that a portion of your entrance fee will be returned to your estate upon your death or the time you move out, if you choose to move out. So you are basically depositing your money there for at least a return, if not return on investment, a return of that to your estate. It does not negate your having to pay monthly rent. There is still a monthly rent for your apartment. It's just that it is a lower rent than, it's typically a lower rent than an equivalent apartment might cost if it was just a month-to-month assisted living community. So they are very complex financially. And I always suggest to anybody who's interested in a continuing care retirement community to talk to your financial planner, as well as your family, about the implications of moving into one. There are continuing care retirement communities that I'm familiar with that if you've lived there 4 years or more, you get nothing back of your entrance fee. There are others that guarantee 100% return of the entrance fee to your estate. So it really varies. They are all very nice. They have lots of amenities. They are all lovely. And but I also suggest that once you start having a lot of care needs, they're not the best investment for you. It's best to move into a continuing care retirement community when you can still live very independently and enjoy everything that they have to offer, and then age in place from that point. Once you need a lot of care, it's not a particularly good way to spend money. Talk to your financial planner about continuing care. By the way, they are really popular with couples, where there might be one member of the couple who is really healthy and another one who needs care. They can stay in the same place that way, comfortably. Okay, yes?
You said that when you need lots of care, it's not the choice to choose this combination of assisted living, but what choice is kind of.
And you are taking me to my next subject. Boy, what a good group. I mean, I can't have any memory problems here because you're telling me what to talk about.
Because we are young.
Yeah, that's right. So the question for those of you who might not have heard it is, what do you do if you have a lot of care needs? And we are very fortunate in the state of Washington to have a large system of what's called adult family homes. Adult family homes are, as the name suggests, they're in houses, in neighborhoods. And I could spit in any direction around here and probably find 10, because there's a lot of adult family homes, particularly in Bellevue, Newcastle. The East Side is loaded with them. You might have one in your neighborhood and not even know. The international sign of an adult family home is a home with a ramp in front of it. So adult family homes are specialized in taking care of frail elderly. Many people with medical conditions who are physically impaired, and most of the time, by far the majority of people in adult family homes in this area have dementia of some kind. Because dementia is epidemic right now. not just Alzheimer's, there's so many different forms of dementia. So adult family homes have a maximum of 6 residents by state law. And for those 6 residents, they have 2 caregivers during the day, minimum 2 caregivers during the day. And there's always somebody in the home, even during the night. Sometimes the nighttime caregiver is awake throughout the night, sometimes they're sleeping next to an alarm. But you can see that in assisted living, where you have 1 caregiver for 12, in an adult family home, you have 2 caregivers for 6. So it's really tailored to the needs of people who need a lot of care. They are as close to a nursing home as you can get, but they're less expensive and much more comfortable, much quieter, calmer, which is particularly important for people with dementia. So they all look very different, one to the other. I mean, because they're homes. Some have been purposely built to be adult family homes. Others are just homes that have been retrofitted. They're usually ramblers, maybe with a basement. The caregivers will live in the basement, and the elderly are on 1 floor, no stairs. They have been retrofitted or built to have a shower room where there's no lip, so that people can be rolled into the shower in wheelchairs. They usually have, the better homes have kitchens that are open so that the caregivers, if they're preparing meals, can see what the residents are doing. They have residents in adult family homes have their own rooms. In some cases, they can share a room if cost is an issue. Some of those rooms will have a private toilet and sink, but they'll never have a private shower because it's assumed that somebody needs assistance with showering when they're in an adult family home. So they are a really good choice for people who are coming out of a skilled nursing facility after hospitalization and may be highly confused, have a whole lot of medical needs that need to be tended to. They're a good choice for people who are not able to manage their diabetes any longer because they can provide injections for insulin. And they are a very good choice for people who are confused and forgetful because it's a smaller, quieter, altogether safer environment for people who are confused. Their cost is, they cost differently. They price differently than an assisted living community. So assisted living communities, it's the room and board and the care costs on top. In an adult family home, it's all bundled into one. They do everything: laundry, food. They do have activities, but they look different than activities in assisted living communities. Activities in an adult family home might look like the caregivers doing a manicure, a mani-pedi on the women, or men, depends on how confused the men are. Or it might look like taking someone to the store because they can still walk and they get excitement out of grocery shopping. It could look for people like people who have dementia and who really get soothed by repetitive tasks. It could look like them sitting there folding napkins over and over again. Whatever it takes in an adult family home to retain people's dignity and their ability to do whatever they can still do. That's what they do in adult family homes. The emphasis is really on family, not only the family within the home, but the extended family of children and cousins of the residents, because there's lots of visitors in and out of adult family homes. So pricing, rather than giving you a base rate and then adding little bits as you need it on top, they charge a rate that's from the low end. On the east side, the low end is going to be $4,500 a month, and they will go as high as $7,000 on the east side. It's a little bit less expensive in the city, just a little bit less expensive. So what you pay is based on what's called a nurse assessment. Before anybody moves into an adult family home, a nurse comes to see them. It's a specially certified nurse. And that nurse takes a look at the medical records, talks to the potential resident, talks to the family member, and develops a full picture of what this person needs. And that becomes the basis of the plan of care, which is the game plan that everybody uses to care for this individual, because it will say, you know, what they like to eat, what kind of physical activity they need, what kind of confusion they have, and how much attention they're going to need for their dementia. So it says all of those things, and then that's what sets the rate. And the rate will be somewhere between $4,500 and the higher end, whatever that higher end is. The higher end is for people who need what's called total care, which typically comes at end of life, where a person's bedbound, they need to be turned, they need to be fed, they need to be sponge bathed. That's what the higher rate is for. Most of my clients, and I have to tell you, I work largely on the city side, most of my clients end up spending $500 to $5,500 a month for care in an adult family home. Adult family homes don't usually raise the rate year after year. They keep their prices in check. If they do have to raise their prices, it's because somebody's had a medical crisis. Again, I'll use the example of a stroke again, because that can be quite debilitating. They have a stroke, and then their condition really gets much more complex. That will raise the rate in an adult family home. In an adult family home, the family members really partner with the owner of the adult family home to make sure that the person is well cared for, happy, comfortable, and honored, no matter how old they are or how frail. They are respected. So that's adult family. Oh, one other important part of adult family homes. Unlike assisted living communities, adult family homes will accept Medicaid if somebody has spent through their cash and their assets. There are very, very, very few assisted living communities that will take Medicaid. You either have to privately pay or you can't live there. In adult family homes, they're all private little businesses, and each one of them has their own policy around Medicaid acceptance. Some will accept Medicaid after 4 years of private pay. Some will accept Medicaid after 2 years of private pay. It is becoming very, very difficult to find homes that will accept Medicaid after 1 year or less of private pay. When I started doing this, which was about 7 years ago, and we were in the recession, they were much more flexible. But now, not so much. So here's what's important. As you think through your planning about your future, you have to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. If you're thinking about moving into an assisted living community, which is always a great first step to ensure that if you have little needs, they can be met. If you move into an assisted living community and you find that it's getting increasingly difficult for them to meet your needs, then you have to start thinking about an adult family home. But I urge people to think about an adult family home, people and their families, to think about adult family homes while you still have the money to get into a good adult family home. Because homes that convert to Medicaid very quickly after a person moves in simply aren't as nice homes. And the reason isn't because they're not nice people, it's because the state pays them so little to care for people that they just don't have the money to, have the gardeners and, have the house painted yearly and all of those things. So they tend not to be as nice looking homes. The care can still be good, but they might not be as nice looking. So, yes?
I have seen maybe in the adult family home, they accept Medicaid, but family also needs to pay $2,000, $3,000.
In addition? All right, that's some homes will accept supplementation. The state doesn't like that unless...
No, you can't do that.
Right.
I have seen many adult homes. I work in state, I know that.
Yeah, you can't do it.
I explained that to you.
Yeah, The only circumstance under which a home can accept a supplemental payment is if that resident is getting something that is truly extra. So if they have a room that goes, and by extra, I don't mean they have to have let's say there's an upcharge for a room with a balcony or a patio off of it. If there's a extra charge for that in the home, then the family can pay for that. But if it's just a regular room, like everybody else's room, they can't do it.
Medicare doesn't cover.
No, Medicare's health insurance. So Medicare covers your doctors, your assistive devices, your medications. It has nothing to do with housing.
Yeah, the care is personal care and medical care. Now, she's talking about personal care, right? So Medicare only covers medical care.
Sounds like people go to adult family home need a lot of care.
They do. They need a lot of
That's part of medical, not social.
Most people who move into adult family homes are 85 or older. They have significant medical problems.
Right.
And more often than not, they have dementia.
Right.
And for people with dementia, living in a larger assisted living community can be very confusing and very isolating. When people have dementia within a larger group of people, they can experience their differences from other people, and more often than not, they end up just staying in their apartments all the time. When that happens, an adult family home is a much better option because it's smaller, more manageable, and there are eyes on that person all the time. Not just at certain times when things are scheduled, but all the time. So that's the difference. Yes?
So how does long-term care insurance come into the picture? Long-term care insurance is something that would allow the elderly to perhaps choose a caretaker. For instance, her favorite niece who does not live with this woman.
Long-term care is not going to cover that. Long-term care will cover a medical facility. It won't cover somebody.
But I understand that some long-term care policy has the provision that if you want a family member to help you with bathing or whatever,
I've never heard that.
It'll be paid out of that fund.
I've never heard that from long-term care insurance. Private long-term care insurance, if that exists, I've never heard of it.
Okay. So maybe it only applies to if this woman lives at her own home.
That's in-home care. There are I will talk about in-home care in a second, but in-home care can be covered by long-term care insurance.
Okay.
But for a relative, no, not for a relative to do it.
Yeah, that's what I heard from an agent telling me
No, I
that.
think there's some kind of policy that they pay you lump sum, unit care. So we pay you, say, $200 a day. You can decide who you should pay.
That may be a
I
policy.
think that's what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
I am not familiar with those policies. And that's simply because my clients have never had a policy like that. So it may be out there, I just don't know about it. Thank you. With in-home care, so somebody asked me about paying for it. Long-term care insurance will cover adult family homes in most cases. If somebody has a policy that was written in the 50s or 60s, even 70s, maybe 80s, those older policies were written before there was such a thing as adult family homes. And so I've worked with a number of people who have had older long-term care insurance policies from California, where they don't have as robust a system of adult family homes as we have here. And the long-term care insurance policy will say that they will only cover care in facilities that are 10 or more people. Well, our homes are capped at 6. So what the family member has to do is make a case to the long-term care insurance company that there is no such a thing as that in this state. And they will typically end up covering it. There's also at least one attorney in town who specializes in making sure that your long-term care insurance companies pay up when they're supposed to, because they will do a lot to get out of paying up. But yeah, long-term care insurance money is your money, so that a home will accept that. There are benefits available to people who are veterans who served during an active time of war. Those are called aid and attendance benefits. Those come from the VA. I'm not an expert in those. If you are eligible for that, I would certainly look into it. Veterans aid and attendance benefits, you have to have a means test, so you have to be under a certain income, and you also have to have a needs test. You have to have, you'll have to already be living in a care facility before they will pay out. So that's other money that may be available to help pay for housing and care. In-home care. Let's talk about that real briefly. In-home care comes in two varieties, in-home care and home health. And I want to clarify the difference between the two. In-home care is something that you get through a private agency, or you can find a caregiver. I mean, but I don't know anything about individual caregivers. We recommend that people go through agencies because the caregivers are licensed, bonded, trained, and they've had their background checks, and there's somebody else helping you manage them when you go through an agency. What they provide is what's called companion care, which means that they can run errands, they can take an individual out on errands, they can do light cleaning, cooking, they can help with medications, showering, bathing. They don't do, that all requires skill, but it's not considered skilled care. Skilled care is things like a nurse, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and those folks come through home health. Home health is covered by Medicare. In-home care is not. It's private pay. Even if you're using insurance monies to pay, it's private pay. In-home care, where it's just help with general things around the house, is about $25 an hour, maybe 26. And the caregivers have minimum shifts. So if you bring in somebody for a day, it has to be for a minimum of 2 hours or 4 hours. So you're looking at, you can be looking at $100 a day to have somebody come in for just a portion of the day. They'll come in 24/7 if you want, but that's going to be costing about $9,000 to $10,000 to do that, unless you can get a really good deal. What I have to say about in-home care is this: it's wonderful. It's wonderful if you can recuperate from hospitalization at home. It's wonderful for shorter term situation, when as you and your family try to figure out what really is the most permanent move. But as people do get older and frailer, you run into the same problems with in-home care that you do with them being in an assisted living community. They get isolated, no activity. They don't. It's better for a shorter term solution for most people than for a long term solution for most people. So in home health, the skilled care comes in because of a doctor's prescription, and it's covered by Medicare. So that's a big difference between home health and in-home care. So what other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me that whatever you do, wherever you go, pricing is very expensive.
Yes.
So can you give us some perspective in terms of how does the average middle class couple kind of prepare themselves easy to the system?
I'm not a financial planner. And if I had planned financially, I wouldn't be in exactly the situation that you're talking about. You know, I've been doing this, as I mentioned, for several years now, and what I've learned is my husband and I can't afford this. So we are actively pursuing a move to Mexico in a few years. You laugh, but it's great health care, and we may be the only people who've ever gone on vacation in Mexico and spent our time looking at adult family homes in Mexico. So, yeah. Yes.
So in-home health care prescribed by a doctor does not cover cooking or shopping or that sort of stuff.
No, they come in, they do your physical therapy session, they're out. You know, that's companion care that does what you're talking about. And companion care comes from in-home care agencies. And there are truly a zillion of in-home care agencies.
You know, I was just thinking about, you know, what this gentleman's comment, like, most people can't afford it, okay? So, I don't know, I've been watching TV and collecting, you know, these information, so sometimes going abroad where, you know, economically it's affordable is a good idea. And then in-home care, when you can get cooked meals, that's something possible to just hire some service that does that. You know, like they bring the food, even sometimes of your choice, so you have variety.
Yeah.
You know, and you can do that.
Yeah, and there's Meals on Wheels. There are supportive services to help people stay in their homes. What I am cautioning against, is it time for us to wrap up?
No.
Okay.
I'm just trying to answer this one that I think care and nursing home, you know, they try to provide such kind of service. Because the Meal on Wheels mostly are not Asian food.
Oh, yeah. That's mostly not Asian food.
We actually totally. My wife or you wouldn't cook anymore, and then you need to cook this kind of service. So they are trying to form this, providing this.
That's great to be able to rely on your greater community to be of help as well. My concern is that many people, nobody here wants to leave our homes, me included. We don't want to leave our homes. I'm the one that sees the results of that and the strain of that, particularly on adult children. I have a client right now who called me yesterday. Her mother is falling down, is not eating correctly. There's no food in the refrigerator. The house is a mess. She's starting to hoard, and hoarding, I mean, there's differences. There's hoarding as a pathology, you know, people who have the disorder. But then there's people who start hoarding because they just can't deal with day-to-day living. And so it's mostly disorganization more than hoarding. And her mother, no, I'm fine, I'm not going anywhere. When people do that, that is, and I'm being serious here, that is a sign of dementia because they're unable to see the reality around them. But it's an incredible strain for family members if people overstay their safety point at home. And all of us are liable to do that if we don't start thinking and knowing the options in advance. Assisted living communities, which is the real next step if you're still active and over 62, they require people to downsize because the places are smaller, but they offer so much. And in terms of the cost, when you move into an assisted living community, you're no longer paying home insurance, you're no longer paying maintenance, you're no longer paying utilities, except for your private phone, but most people now have cell phones. You're still paying for your phone. You no longer have, if you give up your car and go with their transportation, you no longer have car insurance costs. Though there is a savings that somewhat offsets the cost of an assisted living community. And there are assisted living communities that are more moderate. They're not the ones that have the swimming pools or the Chibuli glass in the lobby, but there are more moderate ones. You're still looking for a couple living independently in an assisted living community at about $3,500, well, probably more like $4,000 a month. So.
You know, if they are mostly paying out of their own savings, or are they getting some assistance somewhere else, or from their children, or, you know?
I don't know many children that can afford to help. A couple of lucky families whose sons and daughters ended up on Wall Street, but beyond that, I don't know anybody who can really. I mean, there are families with enough kids who pull together to supplement, but that's very rare in my experience. We estimate, at Choice Advisory, and this is shocking, that only about 7% of seniors can afford the services that we represent. Our services are free, by the way. I will have an infomercial at the end of this. But as far as being able to afford assisted living, much less adult family homes, they're about 7% of the general population that can afford that. So the next question is, what is everybody else doing? I don't know, but it breaks my heart. I got a call yesterday from a woman whose family is in a terrible situation with their mother. Very similar to the story I just told you. It was a very similar story. And she's already on Medicaid, the mother. I can't be of assistance to her because we don't work with people who are currently on Medicaid. The state does. And the state doesn't have the abundance of options that those who are paying privately. So all I could do was give her the number for DSHS and wish her the absolute best. And every one of those calls I get breaks my heart a little more, because I know that these are good people who just through happenstance, through life, just ended up with no money.
So here's what I'm thinking. This type of group, thank God that we have one, all right?
Yeah.
It's very good, because when we hear these stories, all right, then we could come up with new ideas. Because I already heard of people pulling together to buy lotto tickets, and you never know if this whole pool
That's
wins.
great financial planning.
So another thing that I already thought of, I am a good cook and I still love cooking, but I live alone, and whenever I have good food, I always say, what a shame, I can't eat it all, and I can't share. But now I know that if I want to be in the business of doing like Meals on Wheels, and I'm a good Chinese, gourmet kind of a cook, then I could have a side business. Not that I want to right now, but I bet you there are some people already thinking about that.
There's no question that the range of services that are being offered to seniors is growing. Because the population is aging. I mean, the baby boomers like me are, going full force into a world where we're going to need even more assisted livings and adult family homes.
It's a big pie. It's about $800 billion business.
Yeah.
I can pitch for another service that this organization provides. That's a haircut thing on Thursday afternoons. So how it works is we have a woman, who volunteers her haircutting service. I got my haircut, it looks perfect, all right? And so somebody told me that maybe you should try that. So I came and tried it once. And so the deal is, she doesn't get paid, but I pay $5 and put it in this little box as benefit to this organization.
Wonderful.
So here we have a win-win situation.
What you have here is community.
Yeah, exactly.
You have community, and you can help yourselves, and more power to you to a certain extent. But as much as I would like to deny it, and as much as all of us would like to deny it, there will come a time when you are no longer safe in your home. There will come that time. And the key is to being truthful with yourself and your family. So if you hear your family saying, I'm worried about you. If you're seeing that just taking care of the house is becoming a burden, or you're bringing in services off of Craigslist and not knowing who they are to do things on the cheap. When you start into that cycle of feeling overwhelmed by where you're living, it is really time to look at a way to make life easier for yourself, most of all safer for yourself, and more comforting for your family to know that you're in a safer environment. There's a question over here? A comment?
Yes. You talking about you and your husband when researching in Mexico City, and you willing to coming back one more time talking about your research?
It was
at least we will gain some knowledge how other people dealing with.
You'll go to Mexico.
Yeah, I don't have enough information yet to be of support on that. I just know that another winter here with arthritis isn't going to work for me, much less. Yes.
Can you, with your several years experience, can you see we are baby boomer now?
Yeah.
What is the trend for this generation move into system and retirement?
Most of the
CRC?
Yeah, I don't know much about the trends. I can tell you from my experience. Now, I will be honest, most of the people who contact my agency or contact me are not people who can look things up on the internet themselves and make their own choices. So I don't deal a lot with continuing care retirement communities, because the people who are looking for them are typically still vital, 60s and 70s, and know how to do their own research. I work primarily with adult children who are freaking out because mom has fallen, or dad has had or dad has wandered out of the home, or something has happened. So as far as the trends go, I can't really speak to that. What I do see is that the major companies who provide senior care are expanding like crazy. So they are preparing for the incoming onslaught of boomers. And there will be an onslaught of boomers who are able to pay for these services.
Because we know we are the sandwich generation.
We are.
But we are looking at the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Our children probably cannot.
No, they can't.
So we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. And we are living longer. I mean, at the turn of the 20th century, the average life expectancy in the US was 47. That was in 1900. Now it's well beyond that. I am terrible with numbers, but most of my clients are in their 80s, and a lot of them are still going strong. You know, they're going strong physically. They might be very confused about where they're going. Yes.
I have a concern.
Yes. Just one.
Assisted living, and of course, after some time they attach to this facility.
Yes.
And because our health starts sometimes up and down.
Yes.
But not to the point to need nursing cares. But they need some more care. Then
you can bring in-home care in.
Does any facility provide extra care or contract or something to provide for this period of time?
In an assisted living community, there are people on staff to help you. Okay. That said, if you want to stay in the assisted living community but need 24-hour care, what a lot of families do is supplement by bringing in-home care agencies in. Then you're really talking about a lot of money, because you're spending money on the in-home care agency as well as on the assisted living community. But if somebody really needs 24-hour somebody by their side, but they want to stay in the assisted living community, it can be done at a price.
Yeah, because the people may attach to this facility, they don't want to move to the other facility like a nursing home. So for this period of time, like after surgery, they need some.
Yes, that's very doable. Very doable.
So they do have a contract. They are allowed. Of course, this money has to come out their own pocket.
Correct, but they're allowed to bring in private in-home care, no question. And a lot of the assisted living communities have in-home care agencies that they will recommend for that purpose, for short-term rehab in your own apartment. I just realized that I've been talking about memory issues, and my own memory slipped, because I didn't tell you about memory care, and that's an important piece. When I say memory care, I'm talking about special care for people with dementia, and there are standalone buildings that are just memory care. That all they do is memory care. I know that there is a Clare Bridge around here. All they do is memory care. So when you walk into the building, it's locked down. You can walk in. The residents cannot leave without escort. It's locked down, and they have programming and a higher level of care for people with memory issues. Then there are also assisted living communities like over Lake Terrace or Aegis, depending upon the Aegis building, that has memory care within the assisted living building. and it's a locked area that people who have lived at Aegis, or they might come from outside, but it's a great place for people who have lived at Aegis, but whose memory has compromised them so much that they're no longer safe in the general part of the building. They can move into the memory care part. Also very good for couples where one member of the couple may be very cognitive and the other member may be succumbing to dementia. So they can still stay in the same building. Memory care is usually more expensive, probably about $6,000 a month, either, or you can spend that much in a smaller setting of the adult family home. And they're providing memory care too.
Just we visit Algeria, right?
Algeria?
Algeria, and a couple go in, one fee, and the extra couple is $750 a month. So in one group.
Yes.
So by the time maybe 10 years later, one will go to dementia, the others. So how to count this? Do they separate charge again?
No. Well, the ones I'm familiar with, yes, but Aljoya is a entrance fee community. It's a CCRC, so they might charge differently. A standard assisted living community, which is month to month, like Aegis, if somebody's in the regular part and somebody's in the memory part, they're going to be paying 2 fees. Yeah.
I was just going to make a comment. A good friend of mine, she's in her 90s, and so I was just saying that if you move into assisted living, do research carefully before. She moved to American Garden. She's very happy, but it's costing her about $5,000. And later, she found, half a year later, she found comfortable in the Bridge Park in West Seattle, which is about $3,000 less.
But there's a huge difference. A huge difference.
But to her,
but
the building is comfortable, and she's just as comfortable.
If she were my client, I would never have suggested Bridge Park to her, not because it's a bad place, but because at 90, something's going to happen. Something is going to happen.
She's 96.
Oh my Lord.
She's quite healthy, I mean.
She is.
We play bridge, we play mahjong.
She is. More power to her. Give her my love. I think that's fantastic. However, something will happen. And when it does, she'll be at Bridge Park where they don't provide services. They have a contract company that does. It's not just about the money. People have to look at the whole spectrum of aging. And I personally would not have suggested a Bridge Park for her because
I was surprised that she moved there, but
even Merrill Gardens doesn't have a high level of care within it, but it would certainly be. So what she's going to end up doing is bringing in a lot of in-home care. Yeah, and don't tell her I said that because I'm happy she's happy. But people are, this is. People tend to either look at the money, or look at the decor, or look at the location. You have to be looking at the care services. Whenever you go to an assisted living community, look at what they call their disclosure of services, and see. A really good question to ask is, when would this place no longer be suitable for me? And then you'll know if they're going to be able to provide you with the care that you're going to need. None of us has a crystal ball. None of us knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We have to assume the best, plan for the worst, and make sure that you have the backup you need for your care services if and when you need them. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that all of you are here proactively to learn more about this, because there are so many people who are, doing this when it comes to their aging. Yes?
I'm just curious, for beginners who signed up for a certain, kind of care that you talked about, what if this person got in there and 6 months later felt that it's highly incompatible and wants out? How tough is it
not at all.
Exit?
Not at all.
Okay.
What you will do is we're talking about assisted living communities right now. All assisted living communities that are not continuing care retirement communities are month-to-month lease. So you give 30 days notice. The catch is that every assisted living community has what's called a community fee, which is a one-time fee, pardon me, that you pay Between just us folks, it's another way for them to make money. But what they will tell you is that it's for the paperwork involved for their nurse assessment. You always have to have a nurse assessment whenever you move into assisted living too. It's the equivalent of a last month's rent for when you move out. They have to change out the apartment. You will lose the community fee once you move in. But they're not holding you there at all. It's month to month.
But is it a large sum of money?
It can be anywhere from $1,500 to $12,000, depending upon the community. That's still better than $500,000. I mean, an entrance fee is in a continuing care retirement community, but it is a sum of money that you have to consider.
I think majority people 3 months experience, then will decide whether to stay or.
Yeah. I've had very few clients that have not really enjoyed their communities once they move in. In fact, I've had none that have moved out, other than when they needed too much care a few years later and had to move again. Because they've done, and I'll tell you how we work. Again, I'm with Choice Advisory Services. We represent all of these communities. We don't have a bias in favor of one or the other. We work for our clients, hear their needs, desires, wants, fears, concerns, everything, and then create a short list of options they might want to consider. Whether it's assisted living community or whether in the case of adult children, it's for adult family homes. And then we take you out and go with you like a real estate agent would. And it can be a sounding board, but the choice is really up to our clients. But we do a lot of the legwork to get the right mix for a person's pocketbook, locale, and care needs. Our services are free of charge. We are paid by the communities or by the adult family homes when we bring somebody to them and it's a successful match. And nobody pays a premium for using our services. So I have cards and brochures up here. I am open to questions anytime, even if you're not looking to move. I'm more than happy to answer questions.
Is it fair to say that your clients are all within 7% of the population?
I don't know what percentage. I think that means I'm done. All right, thank you so much.